Today's trip down the Turnpike is brought to you by Drizzly, your online liquor store. Available in over 95 cities across North America, Drizzly offers a huge selection and competitive pricing with a side of personalized content. Now there's no need to leave the house. Get alcohol delivered in less than an hour by Drizzly. Head on over to drizzly.com and order today. And now get $5 off your first order of $20 or more when using promo code DRINK19 at checkout. Shop beer, wine, and liquor with drizzly.com. Welcome to Turnpike Sports. I'm Dave Weishuttle, and as always, I'm joined by my producer and co-host Doug Weishuttle. Doug, chances are starting to look good for the NBA and the NHL this summer, but MLB, not so sure about that one.
It's always an issue with the MLB. Major League Baseball just doesn't seem to get it.
Well, the players are looking really bad. Look, you get their point, but this is probably should have been done behind closed doors and not out in the public. And probably Scott Boras
again
shouldn't be talking like he's doing.
You're dealing with a league where basically the union controls everything. That is the strongest union in sports, the Major League Baseball Players Association. And again, it's one of those things where again, it's too public.
Yeah, probably should be done behind closed doors, and it's not looking good. It's really not looking good.
What's the old adage? You don't want to see how the sausage is made before you eat it.
Yeah, something like that. But again, the players are looking bad. Certainly, the owners, never looked good to begin with, but they're looking a little better, especially when the players and agents start getting into publicly saying what they're saying. So, the chances of baseball this summer, not looking too great.
No, and we're seeing agent-on-agent violence now between the two. They're going back and forth, and it's just crazy. And it's the one sport where there shouldn't really be this much angst about it. They should be, ready to go because they would be in Florida anyway.
Yep. Well, looks like we got a great show coming up. What's looking good is online casinos and online poker. They're doing amazing business, and the casinos are opening up, and I'm going to talk all about it with Adam Small from USBets.com and Better Collective. Always great to have Adam on.
Anytime we have Adam on, he's got great information, great insight into the industry.
Absolutely. Then we're going to have a Turnpike Sports Book Report where we talk about what's going on in the sports books across this country. And it's been a busy week, so let's take a trip down the Turnpike. And today's trip down the Turnpike is brought to you by Drizzly, your online liquor store. Available in over 95 cities across North America, Drizzly offers a huge selection and competitive pricing with a side of personalized content. Now there's no need to leave the house. Get alcohol delivered in less than an hour by Drizzly. Head on over to drizzly.com and order today, and now get $5 off your first order of $20 or more when using our promo code DRINK19 at checkout. Shop beer, wine, and liquor with drizzly.com.
Exit 1.
Well, we just started talking about the casinos reopening.
Yeah, there's. I haven't seen a lot of plans for the sports books themselves. I said this last week. I'm still saying it. I'm seeing a lot of pictures from the sports books when they're saying they're ready to open and they have their seats spread apart across. Yep. So I think that's the only indication I'm having of what their plans are.
I think Jimmy Vaccaro took a couple pictures of how they've got the sports book set up over there at South Point.
Yep,
really interesting to see that. But the sportsbook's got a little bit of extra good news. The Nevada State Athletic Commission has signed off on boxing and UFC, MMA matches to resume in Las Vegas.
Well, that's a good sign. Is this in front of no one?
No fans.
Okay.
But they are planning for televised events.
Well, hey, great. It's a little some money coming into the coffers, so that's always great.
Well, from what I've been seeing, the UFC events have already been staged. The three that took place in Florida, they had like 3 in about 2 weeks worth of when they first came back. The betting handle on those events was reflective of the fact that there's no sports out there.
Oh, yeah. No, hey, I threw a little money on it.
Yeah, so did I.
Yep.
And that and the golf match, great for the sports books.
Yes, the match.
Yes.
That was fun.
But now the sports books are going to have at least a couple new events to talk about. Las Vegas is going to see an MMA fight. The first one was this past weekend, Saturday, May 30th. And boxing is going to be returning in June 9th, in 2 weeks. What was interesting, during the virtual meeting for the commission, 5 motions were passed unanimously in less than 10 minutes.
Is that some kind of record? Or
I don't think I've ever seen a athletic commission move that fast before. The first one was to approve the COVID-19 protocols for events held without a live audience.
I guess that was a no-brainer.
They all have to do it, otherwise they can't have the event. The next one was to allow UFC to promote an event on May 30th at the UFC Apex, which was televised on ESPN and ESPN Plus. The next one was to allow a UFC event on June 6th at the same location, UFC Apex, which is their complex in Vegas.
Okay.
Televised also on ESPN and ESPN Plus, according to their deals.
That's an interesting thing. ESPN has the undercard, I guess that's what they call it. And when they get to the main event, I guess everything switches to ESPN Plus, right?
Right.
Okay.
And then these are the 2 boxing ones. Top Rank will be allowed to promote an event June 9th at MGM Grand, if everything holds true to where everything is moving forward with the openings.
Okay.
Also televised on ESPN and ESPN Plus, and also another one on June 11th at same place, MGM Grand. So 5 motions, 5 minutes, less than 10 minutes.
Well, those were no-brainers. So
you had to do it.
Yeah,
you have to do it, especially nowadays.
As long as the safety protocols are there, I think you can do this.
And there has not been a televised boxing match since March 13th.
Really?
Yep. Showtime Boxing, Showbox event in Minnesota.
Okay.
So it's going to be nice to see boxing on TV again.
Sure, absolutely.
Not just MMA events, but also now professional boxing. These aren't going to be championship level bouts, but they're going to be professional boxing, and we'll see exactly what the matches are going to be. They haven't listed who's going to be boxing who, unlike UFC, which has announced all their cards already.
Yeah.
So they're all set to go. So the sports books are waiting on Top Rank Boxing to announce who the bouts are going to be between.
I have to tell you, ESPN does a good job with that. I mean, I've seen some of the MMA things that they were doing. The ESPN, the undercards were very good. And the ESPN Plus is their pay version where you have to switch on over to that. But,
right.
No, it's been really great.
It's nice seeing.
Yeah.
Exit 2.
Okay, we've talked in the past about how some of these car drivers, NASCAR drivers, Formula drivers, sometimes don't take the e-racing too seriously.
Okay.
Well, we had Bubba Wallace rage quitting the race and getting fired by his sponsor, all that stuff. We have a new incident. A Formula E driver.
Okay.
Now, Formula E are the electric cars that are Formula style, Formula racing, but they're electric cars. They're not e-cars. These are real cars.
Oh, okay.
Cars.
So this isn't a simulated thing.
This is involving a simulated thing.
All right. Okay.
But it was a Formula E simulated race.
Okay.
So
it's a Formula E simulated race. Okay.
The Formula E professional driver in the real world was supposed to be doing the race.
Okay.
So what happened was, in this past race that we're going to be talking about, driver Daniel Abt, ABT, basically what's amounting to, he brought in a ringer for the video game race. He brought in a professional sim racer.
Ooh, okay.
And covered his face.
First off,
couldn't see him during the race.
I didn't know there were professional simulated racers. I mean, it's
gamers.
Well, okay, all right. So wait, who is Daniel Abt? Who
is the Formula E driver?
So he is actually the guy who drives the real cars,
right? And he was supposed to be doing the race.
Okay,
the sim race.
Now was this proven already? Or
he came clean.
Oh, okay.
He admitted this.
So the real driver, a real professional driver who drives for real life,
who was averaging 15th place in the sim races.
Okay. Well, I guess he was doing the sim races during the pandemic.
Right.
Okay. So he realized, I can drive the real cars better than I can drive the simulated cars. So
he brought in.
I don't even have to say allegedly anymore because they
found out.
So he brought in an actual professional simulated driver.
Right.
So the actual professional driver brought in an actual simulated professional driver.
The professional driver brought in a professional gamer to drive his simulated car. Covered his face during the race. No one knew it was going on. The only way they knew it was the fact that he was doing much better.
Oh, this is bizarre.
He was averaging 15th place, like I said, but in the race that came under question, he was in second place.
Okay.
So other drivers confronted him during the race and told him to put his Zoom camera on.
Okay.
So things say.
All right.
They found out that he actually did not have. He was not driving the sim car. The professional gamer was. He went on and made his apology, and his apology basically made it worse.
Why? What did he say?
He was trying to come up with the explanation that he was trying to show how much better the sim racers are, in the eyes of the actual racers.
Okay. All right. That's what he did. That was
his apology.
That was his plan.
No,
okay.
That's what he said after he got caught.
Okay.
He didn't tell anybody before this.
All right.
So he was saying we just want to show the other drivers how good the sim drivers really are.
Okay. So wait, so they told him to put his Zoom camera on. Was he in the same room as the sim driver? Oh, okay. I see the problem there. Yeah. All right.
So basically after the race and after his quote-unquote apology, he got first suspended by Audi, which owned the racing team. The real-life racing team.
Is it Audi or Audi?
Audi.
We're from Jersey, so it's Audi.
It's Audi. But the Audi suspended him from the real racing team, the real world racing team, not the virtual team.
Okay.
Then they fired him. So he got fired. A real life racer got fired because of a sim race again.
I wonder if they should hire the simulated pro.
He can't drive the real cars though.
Oh, this is so weird. My God!
It's just an odd situation that just keeps getting more and more.
We're through the looking glass, people. This is bizarre.
I wouldn't be surprised if this continues.
What a world we're in!
This virtual stuff continues. You might see something even weirder come up. But I just thought this was such an odd situation: a real life driver getting fired over a virtual race that he didn't even bother competing in.
All right.
Exit 3.
Okay, we're going to talk about another unusual situation. The UFC has filed a trademark. Actually, they filed 4 trademarks.
All right.
For the term UFC. And the C is spelled SEA.
C as in body of water.
Right.
Okay.
To go along with Fight Island.
Oh, we're still talking about Fight Island.
He's still talking about it. Dana White has not stopped talking about it. He hasn't. There's nothing.
I heard about it a couple of weeks ago, and then it died down. Then all of a sudden, it's back again.
It never left.
Oh boy!
If you've been following the UFC, you know Dana White has not stopped talking about Fight Island.
Has anyone figured out where this island is?
No.
Okay.
He's not disclosed it either. I'm sure it's easy to find. I mean, there's got to be some record of buying an island. But,
so it's his island?
It's his island.
Okay.
He filed the trademark for Fight Island back in April. But he went on this guy's podcast. I'll give him a shout-out here. Late last week tonight with John Oliver. He went on that podcast.
That's actually a TV show.
It's also a podcast.
He does a podcast with it? So he did it on his podcast,
He did it with the show.
Okay.
So John Oliver jokingly was going through all the different types of names of what he could have really called it.
Yeah.
And he ended up saying, and he didn't even go with the obvious for an island where you stage UFC fights, which is simply UFC, and he spelled out SEA. So Dana White probably didn't pay attention to the rest of the interview.
That's actually a pretty good idea.
And he went ahead and trademarked it.
Oh, okay.
Filed 4 trademarks for the event and also for merchandising, too, as well.
So the trademark that he filed was the letters UFSEA.
That's correct.
UFC. Okay. All right.
For events, clothing, he did postcards.
Hey, it's pretty
all types of merchandise.
It's actually pretty clever.
He's not going to give this guy any bit of it. You know that.
Oh, well,
It'd actually be fun to see if actually something more goes. I mean, this is almost like Dan Patrick with the Tampa Brady shirts.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
yeah.
But Patrick went ahead and started selling T-shirts with Tampa Brady on it.
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to really, do anything more than just it's a good laugh. I don't even know if these are going to go through, to be honest with you.
I think it's pretty funny. I think it's clever.
Yeah.
Good for Dana White.
Good for John Oliver.
Exit 4.
Now, last week we talked about the Madden Bowl and the NFL looking to extend the rights to the Madden game to EA Sports.
Yeah.
They went ahead and finalized the extension. It's still the same number of years. It's another 5 years through 2025, and then there's a year option for 2026. The deal is worth $1.6 billion. Billion with a B.
Wow. Okay.
$1 billion to the league.
All right.
And $600,000 to the NFL Players Association.
Wow.
The NFL Players Association handles all trademark and intellectual property rights with regards to current and former players. Names and likenesses.
I wonder how much John Madden gets of this. He
Well,
must get a chunk of change.
I
I
would
know he does
assume.
really well in real estate in California, but now I'm curious how much he gets from the Madden thing.
Does he still have the bus?
I have
The
no
Madden
idea.
bus? I
Yeah, I
watching
remember that. Yeah, because he never flew. He took the bus.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that.
But so the and again, everyone's always excited when a new NFL 2K comes out. The Madden 2K comes out. It's all about getting more and more viewers, and according to the to Electronic Arts, which produces it, I'm just going to get these numbers right. They have seen a 30% increase in unique players for the game, and that translates into 330 million hours being played of Madden football.
Well, I'm seeing a lot more of it on TV, so it's gotten a boost from no sports being played. What did we see? The Madden Bowl?
You saw the Madden Bowl.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Where the guy had no quarterback.
Yeah. Okay.
He ran the ball all the way through, which that's the little loophole in the game, obviously. I'm assuming at some point they're going to see a fix on that at some point. But, this is the NFL still looking to get younger and younger audience members. Yeah. You have baseball, who basically can't attract a young kid to do anything even other than just complain about how slow the game is. NASCAR's got e-racing going on. You have the NBA has an entire eSports league.
Yeah.
And baseball is being left behind, but the NFL is always trying to be at the forefront of these things. And Madden 2K is a great example of how they're trying to attract a younger audience. Even if they're not watching the games, they're actually playing the sport, playing the players themselves, getting apparel for the games and teams they make. Mm-hmm. And they can use those as avatars in the new game as well.
My question is with Madden, as always, every year I look to see who's on the cover because there's always – everyone talks about the curse, the Madden curse, and I was wondering who's on the cover this year.
That's Lamar Jackson.
Oh, boy. Okay.
The reigning MVP of the league.
Well,
so we'll see exactly
I hope
if he
the
makes
curse doesn't last or linger. I did –
I just remember every time somebody gets on this cover, they get hurt. Mm. And I don't know if that's just coincidence or is it more and more of the other players wanting to take the guy out.
Yeah, I've heard about this for years. I got to take a look at it and see if it's still standing up. I'm just very curious about it.
I'm just surprised none of the other sports simulated games have that problem with their cover people.
Yeah, right.
Because they all take the front and center person. I mean, the PGA Tour just had the guy who was doing the match commentating as their cover.
Oh, sure.
player.
Yeah. Well, I asked you about it last week.
Justin Thomas.
Yeah, I asked you about it last week. Is there a curse associated with the golf cover? So I'm curious. I have to go look that up. But I know there's always talk of a Madden curse, and I hope that's not the case. But that's why I always look who's out on the cover.
And the one downside to the deal with with Madden and EA here, 2K Sports is still out of the picture and doing a football simulated game. They do not have the rights. It's an exclusive deal between EA and the NFL. Take-Two Interactive, which used to produce the 2K football, which was the rival to Madden, They have been relegated to just doing arcade-style games and casual mobile games based upon football in general, not NFL licensed stuff.
And today's trip down the Turnpike was brought to you by Drizzly, your online liquor store available in over 95 cities across North America. Drizzly offers a huge selection and competitive pricing with the side of personalized content. Now there's no need to leave the house. Get alcohol delivered in less than an hour by Drizzly. Head on over to drizzly.com and order today. And now get $5 off your first order of $20 or more when using our promo code DRINK19 at checkout. Shop beer, wine, and liquor with drizzly.com.
And to get in touch with Turnpike Sports, you can call or text us at 609-512-5910. At Turnpike Sports is the social media handle for both Facebook and Twitter. Turnpike Sports Radio is our Instagram address. And email is info@turnpikesportsradio.com. Don't forget you can watch us on your smart TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV. Just head on over to turnpikesports.net, and you can subscribe to the audio version of the show now at Spotify, Pandora Podcasts, iTunes, Radio.com digital app. iHeartMedia also distributes us, and Stitcher Radio.
And stick around later on. We have the Turnpike Sports Book Report where we talk about what's going on in the sports books across the country. But coming up next, I get to talk with Adam Small from USBets.com and Better Collective. Online casinos and online poker are going through the roof, and the casinos are opening up, and we're going to get the latest on all of that when I talk with Adam Small from USBets.com and Better Collective. So stick around. We'll be right back with more Turnpike Sports.
Psst. Yeah, you. Come here. Haven't you heard? We don't need to hide anymore. Now, we can shop privately for adult products at adamandeve.com. They've got massage oils, lingerie, and lots more we can't mention here. Use offer code SPICE404. They'll give you 50% off almost any one item, 3 free DVDs, free mystery gift, and free shipping. That's 50% off, free shipping, and more. Private shopping starts at adamandeve.com.
Credit card debt can ruin your life. If you owe $10,000 and minimum payments are siphoning away your paycheck each month, you can get debt-free in less time than you think.
I've paid $800 a month for the past 3 years and haven't changed the balance on my credit card.
Get debt-free now has a program to reduce your debt, stop the harassing phone calls, avoid financial ruin, and settle for less than you owe.
I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders.
You're pre-approved for our special hardship program if you owe $10,000 or more. Upon payment of your new lower balance, your debt will finally shrink until you are debt-free.
My family no longer has 30 years of payments ahead of us at 20% interest.
There's no fees until you see results. So call now, make one monthly program payment, and free up your cash. Resolve your debt.
Call 800-515-1558. 800-515-1558.
Welcome back to Turnpike Sports. I don't think I'm saying anything startling when I say this is the most interesting time in the history of gambling. With the pandemic, some gaming markets have seen the rise of online casinos and poker to the point where they're breaking revenue records. This is also a time when casinos are looking to reopen in the safest way possible. And as always, to discuss the biggest topics in the gambling industry, I am joined by Adam Small from USBets.com and Better Collective. Adam, thanks for joining us.
It is great to be back. It's been a while, right?
It has been. You know, it's. I think this is the first time I'm speaking with you since the pandemic hit and the casinos were shut down. And it seems like I'm asking everyone this, but I want to ask you. I want to get your opinion on what's going on in the gambling industry. Have you ever seen anything like this? Is there anything comparable to what happened in the gambling industry these past couple of months?
No, and I mean, you can ask the same question about pretty much anything in life right now.
Yeah.
Gambling, industry, personal relationships, school, every aspect of everything is different for us than it's ever been before this year. And in gambling, just because that's kind of like the center of our universe, at least work-wise, it's been really interesting to see because all the brick and mortar stuff is shut down, and it makes a lot of sense that it's shut down. The brick and mortar foot traffic skews older, especially in a lot of places around the country, local casinos and stuff like that. And those are the people that are most at risk. You're inside a building. There's a lot of people touching the same things as each other, and it's just the casino is kind of a nightmare for this whole situation. So you can really see why casinos in particular were hit so hard. On the other hand, at least in the non-sports related aspects of online gambling, there's been an uptick, a significant uptick of online poker play, online casino play, and we've seen online poker grow by just a massive amount, more than doubling in traffic in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and also on sites that are accessible in other parts of the world. So it's been interesting to see, I guess, how people have been spending their time when they're at home. It's kind of surprised me some, just because I think about people like me that I don't have any extra time to play online poker right now. I'm in a house with 3 kids and a wife right now. We're just trying to survive and figure out a way to get through our days. But I guess for younger people or people without kids or whatever that have a little more time on their hands and I guess still have income, gambling online might be one of many ways to pass the time, right?
Yeah, I got to tell you, what surprised me, I mean, I read USBets.com, NJOnlineGambling.com, PennBets.com, CentennialBets.com. I read all, I guess they're still called periodicals. I don't know what they're called, but they're all great resources. And I was surprised to see the amazing amount of business activity that the casinos and the sports books were conducting during the shutdown. I mean, even beyond the gambling aspect of it. I mean, Borgata has a new president. Bally's, Atlantic City was sold. Colorado started sports betting. I mean, certainly their business goes on. Did they take care of some important internal business for their establishments and the states during this lockdown?
I think they have. I mean, I think that there's an expression in government that is not something politicians want to be heard saying out loud, but the never let a crisis go to waste.
Yeah.
Looking for opportunities to make sort of bigger changes that might be harder to pull off politically during normal times. But they can use a crisis as cover to make these things happen, whether it's cutting costs or making staff changes or making big policy changes or whatnot. And I think the same thing applies in business. I think that sometimes companies want to sort of modernize certain parts of their staff. That's kind of a neutral word. And what I mean, of course, is replacing people or getting rid of certain departments or people or bringing in new people, whatever it is. I think that sometimes it's hard to do just in normal circumstances because you scare the crap out of your entire workforce when you're making big changes and people might freak out and start putting their resume out there or whatever else, or lose their motivation. But I think during a crisis, the companies have had to act fast and be nimble. And part of that has been thinking long term about what they want their team to look like. And so, you've seen a variety of types of action taken. I mean, look in the case of a company like MGM has furloughed or let go all kinds of people. And that's, largely brick and mortar employees. But then you look at a company like William Hill that, at least in the U.S., is a lot of online people, and people have been getting let go and furloughed, and not just people that work brick and mortar. It's been some interactive people as well. I've heard the same thing at a number of other operators. Parks is another one that comes to mind that I know let go some interactive people. And so there's been companies taking the opportunity to change their teams up, bring in new people, get rid of old people, just do some restructuring. And, we've seen it all around. We've been really lucky at my company, Better Collective Tennessee. We haven't had to do any layoffs or furloughs or anything like that to date. And assuming that sports come back pretty soon, we're going to have our entire team intact, and be really strong and prepared for what's coming next.
The state gaming commissions have consistently put out their numbers during this pandemic, which has been a really depressing read. I think I actually forgot in March there was like a week when casinos were actually still open, but I know the month of April all casinos were shut down for the entire month, so There was zero revenue there. I'm assuming May will look just as bad. How long can the casino industry in this country go on like this? Are we at the breaking point right now, or is there some wiggle room? Do they have to reopen in some fashion pretty soon?
I think we're at the breaking point. We're close. It was really unfortunate that the CARES Act that was passed by Congress that provided more than $2 trillion in funding for a lot of things, but a big part of it was funding for businesses to maintain their payrolls, to not cut staff even in the face of lost revenue. That it was exclusively written into the rules, as I understood it, that gaming business or gambling business was excluded. Mm-hmm. And later on, some of that was redone a little bit, but still, it seems like for some reason our industry was singled out and didn't get as much aid as others. And I know that, while maybe the general public doesn't have a lot of sympathy for casinos and for gambling business in general, that's still hundreds of thousands of jobs around the country, if not millions, that are put further at risk. And those are still people that are, just normal people that work in the industry that are going to be put out there on the street or put on unemployment or, just forced to fend for themselves. And that's really unfortunate this time. I do think that we're reaching a breaking point, and I also think it's going to be dealt with because I think, by the beginning of June, most of the casinos are going to be starting to find ways to at least partially reopen. There are already a few that have reopened. It doesn't seem like, to me personally, I don't really feel like being in a casino now or anytime soon. And same thing about conferences. I go to a lot of conferences. You guys, you and I met in person at a conference a couple of years ago. But I just, I don't have any desire to be in, at a place like G2E in Las Vegas with thousands of other people all kind of, using the same tables, one after the other. And I don't know, maybe by next year I'll be more comfortable with it, but it's going to be a while. And I know that's a huge part of people think of Las Vegas, they think of gambling, but at least in Vegas, maybe not in casinos around the country, Vegas is a convention place, and Atlantic City is in some ways too. I mean, these are places where people congregate for a wide variety of reasons beyond just gambling and entertainment. And a lot of that stuff is it's all huge crowds of people all in the same places all the time. And that's just not going to work out for a little while. So I think, everything could be back, but everything won't really be back, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I got to ask you, you brought it up, and were you shocked that the gambling institutions were not included in the stimulus packages? Because I was thinking, you know what, the president used to own casinos, so I'm figuring, there's going to be something for the gambling industry. Were you surprised that they were excluded?
Well, not in any relation to anything regarding the president or anything like that. But I was surprised. I'm
surprised by a lot of things he does. So I don't know.
Well, I think that's the point a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But I wasn't because of him specifically. I was surprised because it just seemed like a very odd singling out.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why, politically why it was necessary to take a couple of industries and exclude them. I do understand, again, the general lack of sympathy towards the industry.
Sure.
I understand the general lack of sympathy towards other industries, but when you're bailing out industry and businesses, a lot of that's going to be unpopular no matter what. And it doesn't mean that you got to single out certain groups. It always just feels to me like there was someone behind the scenes that wanted this to happen, that wanted certain people excluded, and were able to, exert that kind of influence over the way that the rules were put together. Because otherwise it makes no sense. I mean, people are people. you work for MGM or William Hill, or you work for Delta, or you work for Aramark, or, McKesson. I don't know. I'm just naming companies. There's so many big companies, and the people who work for them are all just the kind of people that live in my neighborhood and your neighborhood.
Sure.
And so I just don't see why you would want to put certain people's jobs at risk over other people's jobs. And that's ultimately what it came down to, because the purpose of at least the Paycheck Protection Program and a lot of other aspects of the CARES Act was just for companies to keep employees on payroll. It was an alternative to everyone going on unemployment, was, allowing companies to continue to pay their employees, and the idea that hopefully when the crisis has subsided, at least partly, that those companies will still have that staff on and won't let them all go later, that people will be able to maintain their jobs and continue to work, and that companies will still have their teams intact, and that businesses can bounce back better, because it's much easier to bounce back with your existing workforce than to have to hire a whole new team later. So all in all, that's the point. I just don't see why that's any different with casinos than anything else.
I guess one of the bright spots, if you can call it a bright spot during this pandemic, was the rise of online casinos and online poker. Overall, for the state to allow online casinos and online poker, how did they do during this quarantine?
They've done amazing. The online poker business has been the most mind-boggling thing, just because online poker, at least in the U.S. since Black Friday back in 2011, when the biggest sites, which were operating outside of any sort of U.S. regulatory entity at the time, all pretty much got shut down. And this was over 9 years ago now. It's been in pretty consistent decline in the U.S. There's still a few offshore operators, but at least a legal regulated industry that launched in New Jersey a few years ago and in Pennsylvania late last year, they've been pretty small and inconsequential in terms of the overall revenue picture and in terms of traffic and growth and publicity and so on and so forth. It's just been not a big part of the story lately. And that's really changed lately. I don't know if it's just that people who are into other things like sports or whatever, or who are stuck in their houses, just don't have as much to do, so they've picked up poker. I'm sure it's partly that, but I think partly just people have rediscovered poker and have been enjoying it and getting into it. And I really hope that momentum goes on. The revenue numbers were pretty impressive. And then you mentioned online casino, which is an area that we cover a lot in our business and follow closely. Like 64.8 million just in New Jersey in the month of March, and even more in April. Look, these are crazy numbers. You look at April was 80 million for online casino. April of 2019 was 36.6 million. Now, when we started NJOnlineGambling.com, we were looking for the first $25 million month for the New Jersey online casino industry. 25 million seemed like a big number. That was like the industry finally making it. Now we're talking about $80 million in a single month. That's close to a projected $1 billion year. If you project that out over an entire year, that would bring you to just under $1 billion in online casino revenue in one state with an average population. So that's a pretty incredible result. Now, we don't expect it to stay that high post-pandemic, but it's not going to go all the way back down either. And this is a big industry. This is propping up Atlantic City right now. If you got $80 million in a month coming in from online casino revenue, whereas you had zero coming in from land-based casinos, it doesn't make up for the entire $200 million or so that land-based were doing in a month, before the pandemic. But it's still, it makes up a significant portion of revenue and keeps you in business. I
got to tell you, I'm sitting here in New Jersey, and I am amazed at the amount of television commercials for online casinos. Betfair is huge, Play MGM, Golden Nugget, and I'm talking about 2 to 3 times an hour. Certainly you said this is going to change after the pandemic, but do you think their marketing approach to these online casinos will continue even after the retail casinos open? Because I'm shocked at the amount of advertising they're doing on television.
Well, I think that there's a couple of ways to answer this question, and a couple of things that are relevant here. There's always hot and cold periods when it comes to advertising online casino. you'll see a company like Betfair or Golden Nugget come out with a big spend for a month or two where they're on TV a lot. I've seen this in my vacations up to the Jersey Shore, where I'd be up there and see a Betfair commercial every 10 minutes on TV or whatever. But they do it off and on, and I think they'll continue to do it off and on. But that being said, I think eyes have been opened on the business side that this is more important than maybe they were treating it before. Mm-hmm. And this dates back for me to 2014 when I went to Borgata right after the industry had launched. It was January of 2014. And I got to visit their online casino and iGaming office. And it was just this tiny little office in the basement with like 10 employees in there. And they were really, I mean, this was at the time, this was the biggest legal U.S. online poker room. And they were, starting to do a lot with casino and everything too. And they had less than 10 people on their entire team. They just didn't care. Like these guys were not considered important, and what they were doing was not considered important. And you fast forward a few years, and most of that team's been overhauled. There's now a company called Roar Digital that handles the marketing aspects of Borgata and MGM's online gaming brands, which include BetMGM for sports and casino, Party Poker for poker, and it just in the state of New Jersey, the Borgata online brands. And these guys, this is a serious marketing effort being put in now, serious integration between MGM and GVC in Europe. And they're very serious about being one of the top online brands in the U.S. They're spending a lot of money. They have major revenue projections and big ambitions. And definitely, I think you'll see this industry-wide that companies are not just going to back away after all this. There's going to be a concerted effort to be a big player in this, and people are going to be looking at online gaming as a major future part of their plans.
I got to tell you, I've talked to a lot of people around the state, and what's happened with the online casinos and online poker is we talked about it off air. People get into a routine. People start setting aside time to go online, whether it be the play games, and people use the chat rooms also to keep in touch with other people around the state that they're playing games with. So I guess the trick now is, do you think these online casinos and online poker sites can actually keep these players that are using their site every day?
Well, I certainly think some of them will be staying, some of the players, that is. And I think it's going to depend on who the operator is in terms of just how much importance they put on this. You've got a variety of companies with kind of different product lines and different goals. If you look at a company like Stars Group, which is now merged with Flutter, and just to back up a second, Flutter is the company that owns Betfair, that owns FanDuel, that owns TVG, which is one of the biggest sports or horse racing operators. So they've got a number of brands. And then Stars Group has Poker Stars, and now Fox Bet for sports betting. And Poker Stars Casino, and has some major international brands as well. These guys are going to place a lot of importance on maintaining that base of poker players. They're going to be trying to convert them into sports bettors and other types of gamblers and their other products. Maybe trying to get them over into FanDuel and doing sports related stuff there. But these guys are going to place a major importance on retaining those poker players. Other companies, I think, that are more focused primarily on casino or on sports are going to look at it differently. But I think that what usually happens in these times, and what's likely to happen, is that the biggest winners from these times and the market leaders overall will just get stronger. Golden Nugget will be a stronger market leader in online casino. Poker Stars will be a stronger market leader in online poker. And for sports betting, when all's said and done, I think FanDuel and DraftKings are in a pretty good spot.
Let me ask you about these online poker sites. A couple of times I went to WSOP.com because every afternoon they have a 3 o'clock free roll. And not only people in New Jersey are playing, but I've seen people in Vegas. I've seen players from Reno also during the tournament. And at one point and one day, they had almost 700 players in this tournament for a midday tournament, which was incredible. And that's not only true for WSOP. I know PokerStars in Pennsylvania have record prize pools. WPT and Party Poker did a deal for an online series. I mean, I talked to the president, Adam Pliska from WPT, and he called it an online poker festival. Do you think they're going to continue using these events to maintain the players that they have now? Do you see them doing more of these online events, more of these online spectacles? I know one of the marketers called it, but is that the way they're going to keep the players after the pandemic lifts?
Well, I certainly think they should. It's going to vary a lot. I think that, being in New Jersey, you're seeing the way things play out in the state where you get a wide variety of product lines available online. And it's going to depend largely on what state you're in for stuff like that. But I certainly think that in New Jersey and Pennsylvania and Michigan soon, when everything launches there, that they should be doing it that way, because poker is a great thing for getting eyeballs on you. It's much easier to promote than a lot of other forms of gambling because there's a community aspect of it. Players can legitimately become star players and winning players by working hard. It's something that people can succeed in and that people sort of have a lot of aspiration around, which makes it different than, for the most part, sports betting and an online casino play. And it's kind of the same way that FanDuel and DraftKings can continue to push DFS products, even though those are probably never going to be particularly profitable, if profitable at all for them. That these are aspirational games that a lot of people win at or believe that they can win at, and it's easier to talk about them and promote them and build community around them than it is to do the same with single game wagering and things like that. So I do think that these companies, especially the ones that don't have other strong options for building community and for building out these spectacles, as you put it, I think they should keep pushing poker where they can, and I think they will. I don't think it's going to be quite as obvious or pronounced because there's just a lot more noise most of the time. It's a lot more noise when sports are going on and when everyone's kind of going about their normal business, and maybe we won't notice as much, but I really would be shocked if this stuff went away entirely.
Well, you mentioned it. Pennsylvania and New Jersey have online casinos, online poker, and online sports betting. I've been talking to a lot of industry people from around the country, and they all said that they wish they had that safety net for the gaming industry in their state. Do you see that this present situation could change the mind of lawmakers around the country and allow online casinos and online sports betting in more states?
Well, I don't even think it's so much about changing lawmakers' opinions. I think lawmakers, at least most of these state lawmakers, are kind of doing what they're told by the interest groups around their states that have built relationships with the state legislators and with regulators and so on and so forth. And so we still have the same issues in a lot of states. There are tribal compacts and constitutional amendments about gambling and just all these different things that in each state make it a unique battle to get iGaming or sports betting or anything like that legalized. And it's the reason that, despite protestations and people's beliefs about what should and shouldn't be legal, it's not very likely that you're going to have widespread online poker in 25 states anytime soon, or that New York and California or the federal government are going to come in and legalize just because of this situation, because it's a lot more complicated than that. But what I do think is going to happen is that the gaming industry is probably going to coalesce a bit more around a broader range of iGaming legalization. And I mean by that in a state like Indiana, where it makes all the sense in the world to have more than just sports betting, that I could see them revisiting what they've done there and trying to do something more like what Michigan's done, where they've legalized sports betting, online gambling via casinos and poker, or, West Virginia's done the same thing. Pennsylvania and New Jersey have done the same thing. They haven't all done it the exact same way as each other in terms of taxation and regulation and all that, but they all have come around on a full suite of online gambling options. And it just, to me, in a state like Indiana or Iowa or Colorado at some point in the future, it just makes sense to me that people would at least be paying attention to what's going on in New Jersey and Pennsylvania right now and rethinking why they, singled out a product like sports betting and didn't get into these other areas.
Speaking of laws and sports betting, I hope they do away with one stupid regulation, and that is if you want to register for a mobile sports book, you have to go to the physical sports book to finish your registration process, because that's just ridiculous what's happening in Las Vegas and Reno, that they have to do drive-through registrations for their mobile sports books.
I've been seeing that stuff on Twitter. People have been posting pictures. It's like a red box for registering for online gaming. Yeah, the stupidest thing in the world. You're registering for an online product, and you show up at like a kiosk just to like complete your registration. Just so it's so dumb and so outdated. And there's no like public value to doing it this way. It only exists because certain interest groups are scared for competitive reasons about it being done another way, and are kind of standing in the way of change. And it needs to go away. It's very clear that it serves no useful purpose to the public, and that it's creating, an additional germ spreading opportunity for people that people probably just don't want to tolerate right now.
As we speak right now, casinos are developing plans for their reopenings and developing ways to safely welcome back guests. What do you think we can expect from this reopening? Will casinos do it in phases? Will some just open slot machines? I know Wynn just came out with one of their recommendations that they're going to open up their properties, but they're not going to have poker in it. What can we expect to see from these casinos?
Just mentioning poker there at the end. I mean, poker is a tough one because people pass chips around from player to player. And there's just so much opportunity for spreading. People are sitting close together, and it seems like a particularly difficult thing to make work right now. What are you going to do? Like, after people put all the chips in the pot, before you push it to players, spray a bunch of white vinegar or hand sanitizer, whatever, Clorox into the middle, and splash around on all the chips before you push the pot every time. It's just it's not going to work. So I think that there's going to be a bunch of stuff like that is much slower to get going. Maybe, something like blackjack could work better. Maybe there's some company working behind the scenes on like chip washing technology or something like that. We get chip washers at every table. Instead of having those racks in the middle of the blackjack table, you just stick all the chips in the chip washer, and they just keep kind of coming out like the way the automatic card shufflers do. I mean, what if get all to speed up?
Let me tell you something. It's funny you should mention that. I'm a gaming attorney, and I got to tell you, the last couple of weeks, I have reviewed and drafted contracts I never thought I'd do. We've had purchase order for masks, and you mentioned chip cleaning. We just did a contract for a system casinos use to clean and sanitize gaming chips. So they are going through that. It's just absolutely amazing. I never thought I'd even look at contracts like that. But in your opinion, how long do you think we're going to have to do this?
Nobody knows. I'm far from a medical expert or anything like that, but I feel like nobody knows how long the situation is going to go on. And I think everything largely depends on public behavior. I think that we have, a lot of conflicting views of government and of media and of just various kind of authorities that are out there that probably people en masse are going to have a hard time agreeing on, who's right or, who to listen to or whatever. But at the end of the day, everything's going to depend largely on behavior. And I think that's what you mentioned, opening in phases. I think the casinos will open in phases, and I think they're going to have a lot of protective measures in place, whether it's social distancing requirements or sanitation rules or, procedures that were different, like the chip washing or whatever. But what's really gonna impact the speed of the reopening and how those phases play out is how people respond to it all. And I think that's what probably the brass at these big casino companies what they're trying to figure out is, if we do this, what will people do? And if we do this, what will people do? And trying to arrange this in a way that brings people back as soon as possible and as comfortably as possible. And I think that's just I know that's kind of like running around and not really giving an answer, but that's what I believe. I think they're going to be trying to do it in a way that makes people comfortable, and then watch how many people come in and how people come in and what they do when they're in, and kind of keep remaking their plan and iterating on their plan in response to that until you've got, reasonable capacity happening. But I believe, full capacity in these casinos is, in my opinion, not happening until next year. There might be, I've heard people talking about pent up demand, and I believe that. I believe that, you might have a reopening and see massive crowds for a few days just because there's so many people that are like excited to get back in or to go eat a nice meal or whatever. But, in terms of consistently staying at capacity, in my opinion, it's likely that it won't be till next year.
Speaking of getting people in, I know the lifeblood of any casino is seniors and older people playing their slot machines. Is it job number one of the casinos and their PR people to demonstrate to seniors that they're doing everything possible for them?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm really uncomfortable with it personally because I don't think old people should be in casinos.
Absolutely not.
Senior citizens, whatever. I think they should be staying the hell out. Like if my dad doesn't go to casinos, he doesn't gamble. But if he were a person that went and he asked me what I think, and my dad's 74 and he's got some respiratory illness history, I would be telling him no, stay the hell away.
Yeah.
I don't think senior citizens should be going in casinos right now. Certainly not people over 80. Probably not people over 70, and certainly not anyone with any kind of respiratory illness or immune system issues. So it definitely, this is a big factor in all this. A huge portion of casino clientele is elderly, and they've got to figure out a way to deal with that responsibly. And I worry about that. I don't worry about it as much in Vegas, just because Vegas is built around this industry and they're so protective of what they've got. But I do worry about it a lot in other gambling destinations around the country, particularly more like local type casinos in places like Council Bluffs, Iowa, or, the middle of Pennsylvania, places like that, where it's just, you know that your clientele is built around local visitors. Most of them are older people, and they're going to be a lot of risk. And casinos, this is, in my opinion, the most challenging task right now is how to be responsible and not overdo it and not put these people at too much risk.
Adam, we're running out of time, but I want to remind everyone that they can follow these important issues in the gambling world by going to USBets.com. Adam Small from USBets.com and Better Collective, thanks for coming on and keeping us up to date about what's going on in the gambling world.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, Dave. It's always great to be on.
Stick around. We'll be right back with more Turnpike Sports.
We like to think that we live in a nice, safe neighborhood. The truth is that a burglary occurs every 13 seconds, and homes without a security system have a 300% greater chance of getting broken into. How many homes in your neighborhood were robbed yesterday? You need to start protecting your home and family today. Call now to get state-of-the-art protection. To keep your family and property safe, call the number on your screen now. Representatives are standing by to assist you. Sometimes life is wonderful, and sometimes it's not. Cherish the good, but always be prepared for life's challenges. If your employer doesn't supply health care coverage and you don't qualify for Medicare or Medicaid, you need to give us a call right now. Private health care is private health insurance for ages 65 and under with medical, dental, vision, and even prescription coverage. To get the coverage you need, call the number on the screen now.
Turnpike Sports Book Report.
And the Turnpike Sports Book Report is brought to you by BorgataSports.com. Your favorite casinos, now your favorite sports book available anywhere in New Jersey, BorgataSports.com. Sign up at BorgataSports.com using our promo code PIKE, that's PIKE, and you get a risk-free bet up to $300 and 20 bonus dollars at BorgataCasino.com. Must be 21 years or older and in New Jersey to place a bet. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And before we get to the sports book, once again, thanks for Adam Small for joining us today on Turnpike Sports from USBets Better Collective.
Always great information from Adam.
A couple of news and notes just to.
By the way, I didn't look at this, but is the Turnpike Sports Book Report just a depressing thing to look at with regard to revenue? It has to be, I guess. It's really.
Well, I've been turning it into legislative updates as well as some other stuff. Plus, also with the fact that a lot of the sports books have turned to the non-traditional sports,
more
like
of the
darts and table tennis.
Yeah,
and also with the fact that a lot of the sports are now starting to return with the soccer and the NASCAR.
No, even before looking at this, I like you mentioned NASCAR. It's been great seeing NASCAR again. It's been great seeing MMA. Some really good events happening,
and now we're going to have boxing too. Boxing's coming back.
Yeah, again, ESPN's been doing a great job in covering the MMA, and I've been really having a ball watching it. So it's
and it's actually even fun to bet on in some areas.
Sure.
Well, we're going to talk with bad news.
Okay.
You had to set us up for the good part.
Give me the bad news first.
Nevada reported their April numbers.
Right.
They did the overall gaming numbers.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I'm not going to go into the numbers because they're really not worth going into. The important part was they redacted the sports betting numbers, which was basically nothing.
Sure.
The overall gaming revenue for April of this year was down nearly 100%, actually 99.6% from April of last year.
That's amazing. That's overall casino
That's
gambling,
overall gaming
right?
in Nevada.
Okay, wow.
So the fact that they're reopening partially this week, as well as starting to open up all of Las Vegas and Reno and all the other areas, that's great news for the industry.
I'm very curious to see how this opens up because really it's going to be kind of a blueprint for the New Jersey casinos, for the Pennsylvania casinos, and for a lot of casinos around the country. So I know Wynn Casinos isn't opening up with certain games. I know poker's not on the reopening schedule. Again, I haven't heard anything about sports books, how they're working the sports books. I've seen pictures from different sports books where the seats and the tables were separated far apart, but I haven't seen any documentation on the opening up of the sports books.
Well, the sports books are one thing. The casinos are, especially in Nevada, they're taking a look at what's been happening in Mississippi and a lot of the other states that have already opened up a lot of the tribal casinos. Mm-hmm. And you're seeing a lot of the plexiglass separations, the social distancing between slots.
Yeah.
And, I think it's going to be a matter of give and take in terms of what has worked with other casinos, what could possibly work. Especially Nevada is a unique animal with the different areas where it's all gaming. Those small towns that they have, Reno Sparks, Henderson, Laughlin, all that. It'll be interesting to see exactly what the reception is too when they open.
Sure. I'm assuming they're going to be taking temperatures. I'm assuming masks are going to be required. I'm assuming social distancing will be in effect.
I think the casino.
I'm curious to see how they'll do it.
I think the casino eye in the sky is going to be replaced with the thermal scanner in the sky. Probably.
I've seen. A lot of people have the handheld thermometers that they hold up to people's heads, but I've seen some technology where I guess people just walk up to a baseboard or something like that, and it's a thermal imaging.
It's a full-body thermal scanner.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
It'll be fun to see some of the new technology that comes out because of this too.
It'd be. I'm curious. I'm curious to see the safety procedures, and I'm curious to see what safety procedures hangs on even after this pandemic is done.
Well, it's a growing process, and we'll see exactly how everything. You're not going to get back to normal for a while yet. So,
no. Let me tell you something. I'm having fun, playing the online casinos and online poker at home and online sports betting at home, and I think I'm going to continue that until I feel comfortable going into a crowded casino. Just my opinion. So.
Well, on to the good news. We have another market that has launched in the sports betting industry.
Okay.
Washington, D.C.
Finally. Oh, boy. For what, a year and a half we have been hearing about Washington, D.C., so they finally did it, huh?
After so many fits and starts and hiccups and testing, and they finally launched this past weekend.
Okay.
The site is Gambet DC. It's a combination of gamble and betting. Gambet DC.
Gambet DC. That's the name of the app?
That's the name of the sports betting website right now.
Okay.
The apps haven't launched.
Okay, so you can bet in Washington, D.C.
on whatever sports are available.
Whatever sports are available. If you're physically located in D.C., I'm assuming, and also you can only bet on the online website, right?
Right now.
Right now. There's no app yet.
No. And when actually this fully launches, both app and website, if you're in D.C., you can only bet with Gambet DC.
Okay.
Unless you go into one of the event centers, the arenas, or the stadiums that has a deal with another mobile sports provider.
Okay.
DC is all mobile sports betting.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, there are no casinos in DC.
But they also only have one provider for the district, which is Intralot.
Okay.
They set the prices. You only have that choice. Until the other ones launch inside the stadiums and arenas, you only have one choice here.
All right.
And a lot of people are complaining about that, which ties into the other state that I'm going to talk about right now, Montana.
Okay.
Montana and the District of Columbia are both run by Intralot.
Okay.
For the odds. And the odds pricing is a little more steep by Intralot. I believe David Purdom from ESPN had the best analogy.
What?
If you're in Montana or D.C., you're paying $2 for a gallon of gas, while everyone else is paying $1.
Well, that may change once competition goes.
There is no
into the state.
competition.
Well, if there's going to be competition, I'm sure that will change.
You can't bet at home unless you use Gambet. You have to go physically to an arena or a stadium to go use a mobile app.
But like I said, I'd be curious to see if that changes, if there's competition occurring in that state with regard to another sports book or another sports book provider.
Well, if you want to check it out, if you go to gambetdc.dclottery.com.
Okay.
They've launched. They will be launching the apps for both Android and Apple devices sometime in June, early June, they said. And over in Montana, they're starting to see a little traction with sports betting.
Great.
The last couple of events by MMA have generated about $30,000 in handle. They're saying that they're getting an average of $34 per bet, with the majority of the betting being done at the kiosks and not the sports betting app they have available.
Interesting.
Which is, I think it's Montana Bet or Bet Montana, just like what they have in D.C.
Okay.
So that's it. Short rundown here about what's going on. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of news as more and more things reopen, more and more sports go live. And we'll just keep updating as best as we can.
And that'll do it for us this week. Hey, stay safe, everyone. We'll see you next time on the Turnpike.